Well, folks, this is it. We've made it. We've gone through 18 typings, starting with the dragons, and we've worked all the way down here to our final weakest to strongest ranking, the normal type. It's pretty fitting that we started with what many people consider to be the most interesting and cool typing, and are now closing on something many think to be just boring and plain. Well, I hope today I can show you guys that the normal typing isn't boring, and is definitely far from plain. There's a reason why, on almost every in-game best team, you'll find a normal type Pokemon anchoring it with its strong stab moves and wide variety of coverage. I feel that the normal types I've put together here today are the best of the typing, and I invite you guys to share what you think is best down below. Now with that out of the way, let's wrap this series up. We're going to be kicking things off here with a pretty solid option here at number 10. The most American Pokemon that there is, the Valiant Pokemon, Braviary. It's a part of a long line of normal flying types, and it's definitely one of the best ones. It sits at 123 base attack, which means it hits hard and gets the most out of both of its stab types. While meanwhile, it has 100 HP, which helps out the 75 defenses, which aren't exactly stellar. Its speed is just a meager base 80, but honestly, when we talk about Braviary, we're focusing on the attack stat, and the ability Sheer Force. That's right, it's got Sheer Force, and as we know, that is an ability that works hand in hand with the Life Orb, or on its own to provide massive damage. Sheer Force will make moves like Rock Slide and Crush Claw stronger, and again, if you include the Life Orb, you won't even deal with the loss of HP thanks to Sheer Force. Looking at the moves that Braviary has, let's highlight Brave Bird in close combat. See, we lost a great normal type move in return with Sword and Shield, so probably the strongest, most viable normal type move Braviary could have isn't available anymore. However, here's the thing, with a setup move like Bulk Up available, does it really matter if you have the strongest move ever or not? I mean, using something like Close Combat or other moves in the pool, like Iron Head and Shadow Claw, well, they can turn out to be as strong as just relying on stab moves after Braviary gets set up. There's even viable recovery on this thing too, with Roost. And of course the heavy duty boots are an option on Braviary too, if you want to run the Defiant ability instead. This thing is a pretty nice open to this list, and definitely a Pokemon that I'd say is a bit underrated. Next up we have the first, and actually only legendary Pokemon on this list, Savali. I know that for a lot of people, they know that Savali is a legend, but it's one of the most forgettable ones out there. If you told me Type Null and Savali were just regular Pokemon, I'd probably believe it, but in reality, this is a legendary Pokemon. It's got 95 base stats across the board, which is lower than most mythical Pokemon, let alone legendaries. However, it's a great picture of consistency, as you'll be able to turn it into a physical or special attacker. Plus, I suppose it's important to bring up the fact that you can make it any typing you want. Its ability, RKS System, allows you to attach a memory disk and make it any of the typings, and its signature move Multi-Attack is a powerful base 120 that always hits for stab. Its other moves include the elemental Fangs, Iron Head, Psychic Fangs on the physical end, and then Flamethrower, Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, and Air Slash on the special end. All in all, Savali has a ton of options, but doesn't pop as much off the page when you look at its stat line. It's just very consistent. Following up on Savali, we've got a massive physical attacker from the second generation, Urshifu's cousin, Ursaring. I'm not kidding when I say this bear is a massive physical attacker, with 135 base attack being a real headliner in this stat pool. Its two abilities are really great. Quick Feet, that grants Ursaring a doubled speed stat if it is under the effect of a status, or the other ability, Guts, that is pretty much directly influenced by a status element. And truthfully, it's the better of the two. Guts brings up Ursaring's massive attack stats even more, and thus if you run it with a Flame Orb or something like that, it's going to be hitting harder than like a really big refrigerator hitting you in the head, or something like that. As for its move pool, there is Return, which is a headlining normal type move. And of course, Facade, which works really well in tandem with the Guts ability. Facade's base power shoots up to 140, and then goes to 210 thanks to Stab, and that's about enough to sell me on Ursaring's power. There's Play Rough in that move pool that I can learn through breeding, thus giving it coverage for the fighting type weaknesses it has. It's got a few setup moves too, like Belly Drum, Bulk Up, and Swords Dance. So if you can get around the middle of the road defenses and perhaps even make use of Quick Feet to speed things up, the setup can be achieved a lot quicker. There's a lot of potential with Ursaring and its monstrous attack. It just depends on how any particular player chooses to maximize it. Alright, how about we finally get into something that has more of a special attacking side to it, as opposed to all these physical attackers we've been going on about. Xspot back in the 3rd generation was a Pokemon that was just sort of out there. Not too bad or anything, but not the most special Pokemon ever, though it was a fitting Pokemon for my Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald best team Remastered a while back. Now, here's the thing. Xspot has 91 base attack on both ends, and 106 HP, so it's got a little bit of bulk. And honestly, I'd say it's more worth it to use it as a special attacker. Its speed is not great, which is unfortunate, and its defenses are quite frankly not what you want either. However, its move pool includes moves like Boom Burst, which has a massive 140 base power, and not to mention a slew of other coverage moves like Flamethrower, Ice Beam, Shadow Ball, and Surf. This is a short entry because the basic truth is, Xspot is a basic normal type Pokemon with decent potential. I guess it's a bit obvious that these first few are normal, as their typing suggests. We've really not spoken about much about special attackers aside from Xspot, and really the rest of the list isn't all that specially inclined, so let's get another one out of the way now. We've got Porygon Z. This thing is totally underrated, with 135 base special attack and a complimentary base 90 speed. Now, I know Eviolite Porygon 2 is a popular option among some players, but I think the defensive focus is a waste when you can end up with a Pokemon as good as Porygon Z. Now, I get it, its stats outside of the speed and special attack aren't spectacular, so setting up Nasty Plot or something like that might not be viable at all. However, with what's already on the table with Porygon Z, as well as either adaptability or download, you'd be in pretty good shape. I can see the advantage of going download instead, as download is an ability which boosts Porygon Z's attack or special attack depending on what the lower stat is on the opposing Pokemon. Defense or special defense. Adaptability would be nice if Porygon Z wasn't just a normal type, but that's just how it is. Speaking of being the normal type, how about we give credit to Tri-Attack, an OG move from Gen 1 that is really good on the Porygon line. It's got a great secondary effect of causing a status element too. However, as for moves that actually can do super effective damage against anything, Porygon Z has a ton of them. It's a shame it doesn't get access to hidden power anymore in Sword and Shield, as that opened up a lot of possibilities for it too. But at the end of the day, there are still moves like Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, Psychic, and Dark Pulse that play into Porygon Z's coverage pool. As I mentioned before, it might not be the most calculated risk to take, but Nasty Plot is still there to help Porygon Z enter the ridiculous tier of special attackers. It misses out on the top 5 by a pretty wide margin, but really, I don't want to hold it against Porygon Z too much. The next few are just really good. So we open up the top 5 now, with none other than the best of the regional rodents, Diggersby.
Diggersby? Oh man, I love Diggersby.
Oh, what's up, Fredo? I didn't know you liked Diggersby so much. Do you want to take over this entry?
No!
Oh, well, alright. That was kind of random. Anyway, Diggersby, like I said, is the best of the rodents. And the big thing that gives it that distinction is its ability, Huge Power. That ability, Huge Power, basically doubles Diggersby's attack stat, which is base 56 to begin with. When maxed out, it'll sit at 232, but then it's doubled to 464, which is just fantastic. The rest of its stat line isn't super over-the-top special, but that attack stat more than makes up for it when it's got stab moves like Earthquake and Quick Attack to work with. Its other two abilities are Cheek Pouch and Pickup, and they don't compare anywhere near to Huge Power. So, like I mentioned before, Earthquake is the premier move on Diggersby, and considering it's the only normal ground type we're getting on this list, it can't be understated how much this typing combo helps earn Diggersby this spot on the top 5. So with a strong move like Earthquake, obviously there needs to be a nice supporting cast. Diggersby is yet another Pokemon that can take advantage of Bulk Up, and of course Quick Attack mitigates the 78 base speed with some priority stab. U-turn can be taken advantage of to get Diggersby out of a tight situation, or just a nice pivoting move. Let's also not forget coverage options like Gunk Shot, Iron Head, and the Elemental Punches too. Diggersby's Huge Power is the catalyst to its success, but even then, it's more deserving of a top 5 appearance than you might think. Alright, let's keep it rolling with a personal favorite normal type of mine. One that I love to include on any best team when given the chance, Snorlax. Now, Snorlax is an absolutely great normal type, and one definitely fitting of being in the top 5. It's especially defensive wall, though not the best of its kind, though still really good. It has base 160 HP and 110 special defense, as well as 110 attack. So while it isn't the best special wall, and we'll get into the best one after this, it is at least a great attacker. It has one ability in particular that works well with being a wall, that being immunity. It can't be poisoned, and thus needs to be attacked with physical moves to really be defeated. But the fact is, all special attackers are going to struggle with this thing. Its move pool is really loaded and chock full of great moves, as well as having a viable way to recover with the Rest Sleep Talk combo if you choose to go that way. If not, rock out with Leftovers, as that is practically a signature item for Snorlax. When we look at Stab, you can turn to a Body Slam or Double Edge. And honestly, if you're feeling brave, you can go with Belly Drum to max out Snorlax's attack, and perhaps you can even use Curse. As for the rest of the moves, stuff like Seed Bomb, Zen Headbutt, Iron Head, Gunk Shot, and the Elemental Punches are all at the disposal of Snorlax, which is just a plethora of coverage. Look, Snorlax isn't the highest Pokemon on Smogon tier lists, for quite frankly, it is a Pokemon that can be used very effectively out in battle. So, we've got a bit of an interesting entry here at number 3. It's shared by two Pokemon, Chancey and Blissey. This is going to be a bit of a shorter entry on this list because it's pretty self-explanatory why these two are up here, and why they're such popular Pokemon of this typing in general. See, Chancey and Blissey are hands down the best special walls in Pokemon that aren't legendaries. Blissey has 255 base HP and 135 special defense, while Chancey has 250 base HP and 105 special defense. The logic to include them both, of course, is that you can throw the Eviolite on Chancey, and thus boost both its special defense and its awful defense stat, essentially leaving it as a superior option in some situations. It's going to handle situations that call for a wall with ease, and its ability to Toxic Stall and even turn to a move like Seismic Toss is not to be underestimated. I would say that's going to do it for this entry, as there really isn't much more to say. This line outclasses Snorlax due to that massive base HP and the option to run an Eviolite set and not actually lose out on any power. We now reach the penultimate entry on this list, and it's one of my favorite early bird Pokemon, and definitely the second best normal type Pokemon we've seen, Straptor. This bird is, in fact, the word. And that word is dominant. It's an actual tragedy that it's not in Pokemon Sword and Shield, while something like Unfezant is. But, oh well, even going based off of it as a Sun and Moon Pokemon, it's still tremendous. Straptor has base 120 attack and 100 base speed, which comes together to establish it as definitely the best Pokemon we've spoken about thus far. Its move pool has Close Combat, Brave Bird, Double Edge, and Return, which are all top tier options. There is viable recovery on Straptor as well, with Roost. So don't be too worried about not taking hits super well, because healing it is on the table. Its abilities, Intimidate and Reckless, are both incredibly viable depending on how you choose to use your Straptor. And honestly, success is possible regardless of which you choose. There really isn't much left to say as we wrap things up on Straptor, other than it's the best non-legendary or mythical normal type Pokemon. The number 1 spot, honestly, is of course the Lord and Savior of all Pokemon. It's God. It's Arceus. This glorious, omnipotent deer thing is the one that watches over all others. So, as we know with Arceus, it's a normal type, hence why it's number 1 on this list. However, it is capable of being any typing you want if you have it hold the correct plate, much like Savali with its memory drives. So really, Arceus can be any typing at all. And it's a pretty nice caveat. Now, I know you're probably wondering then, why hasn't Arceus been on every single list up to this point? Well, that is because I decided to count it simply as a normal type. It seemed fair to just count Arceus as a normal type to begin with, so here we are. The stats on it are 120 across the board, which is one of the best in the entire franchise, putting it in the conversation as one of the best Pokemon ever. It can be used as a wall, a special attacker, as a physical attacker, speedy as hell, it doesn't matter. Whatever you choose for it to do, it's going to do well. Judgment is Arceus' signature move, and it copies the typing of Arceus, making it always hit for stab damage. It's a very basic move, having 100 base power that always gets stab boom to 150, so it's a forever hard-hitting move. As for other options on this god, let's break it down here. Arceus has access to a move of every single typing except for Fairy, unless you count Judgment when holding a Pixie Plate. Its coverage is plentiful, and its consistency across the stat board is as unmatched in many ways. It's the god of Pokemon for good reason, and whether it's using Recover to heal, setting up a Swords Dance or Calm Mind, or passing Judgment with its signature move, there's no denying that Arceus is the best of the normal types, hands down. Alright everybody, that'll do it for the last entry in my top 10 Stringus series. This was a lot of fun to do, and putting my opinion out there was pretty enjoyable. This one was a little bit of a challenge to put together, because I noticed while researching that the normal typing just isn't super great, and a lot of these Pokemon probably wouldn't show up in top 10s of other typings. But they just so happened to make it in on this one because of the typing we're talking about. Regardless though, it was a fun one to do, and I look forward to hearing from you guys in the comments below about how you felt. Also, I just want to make it official now, this series will be back with a new look in the future. You guys asked for it, and you'll get it. I'll be returning to re-rank all 18 typings without legendaries or mythicals. It'll be a little while before we do it, but keep a lookout. If you enjoyed the video, why not leave a like and subscribe to my channel with notifications on, that way you never miss an upload. If you want to support me further, consider following my Twitch where I stream all sorts of games from Pokemon to Fire Emblem to Zelda and much more. I also have an anime channel called MysticSage where I do anime reviews, rankings, and countdowns. So if you're interested in that kind of content, go ahead and check that out as well. If you want to support me even further and gain cool perks, check out my Patreon. These lovely people have all given me their support over there and I couldn't be more grateful to them. I think I'm gonna wrap this up though. I'm Mystic Umbreon, and I will see you in the future for more awesome Pokemon content.